there. I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate in the process. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Trainer, where I answer questions you may have about your eating, movement, or how they all work together in 5 to 7-ish minutes. I used to try and get it in 5, and I'm having a really hard time doing that. So we'll just dig in. Today's question is, it's kind of more of a statement. Sorry. Stiff from sitting too long. Try these stretches. Okay. So we've all been there, right? Like I have been, on a road trip. I have family that lives anywhere between 5 and 9 hours from me. So if we're sitting in the car and we're going up to see them, that's a long time to sit. Sometimes I get that way if I am seated and really just banging out some computer work. If we have a desk job, we're sitting. I don't need to tell you any of this kind of stuff, but we've all been there, right? Like we stand up and then we almost like hobble for a few steps before we get back in our groove and we can stand upright. It's like we feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel a little bit like a caveman, like hunched over until I can get standing up straight and walking. I want to give you a few stretches to do, and we're going to talk about it verbally since this is a podcast. But if you want to see a few more stretches, specifically for when you have been seated for a long time, head over to the link that I have in the show notes. This is a video I did for Laura Christensen's Professional Writer podcast, and I demonstrate all of this. It's on YouTube, so that way you can see what I'm talking about, or you can also listen to her episode. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And we go into a lot more, but I just want to highlight a few for you to consider. So let's go from the top down. One of the things that we do when we are driving, typing, working is we have a tendency to hunch over and to round our shoulders. So this is super simple, you guys, but really adds a lot of benefit. Just take your arms, take them out, extend them out from your shoulders and just open up your chest. Press your palms back until you feel a nice stretch in your chest. If you want a little more, you can clasp your hands behind your back and roll your shoulders back. Again, that's going to open up your chest, which has been probably, if you're like me, hunched over a little too much. Then let's work our way down. Next up is our hip flexors. These are the muscles on the front side of our hip musculature. So just on the front of our hips, right underneath our abdominals. And those have been flexing. We want to stretch them out. So for this one, you may have learned this before, but it's worth going over. Take your left foot, press it back behind you, bend your right knee a little bit. Then, this is the secret. This is the most important thing. Squeeze your left glute and pull your hip forward. Your left heel needs to be on the ground at the same time. But when you squeeze that glute and pull it forward, you should feel some nice tension in that left side, in your left hip flexor. So we are, again, doing the opposite of what we have been doing when we are sitting. Just like when we open up our chest and we are opening that up, we're doing the same thing with our hip flexors and stretching that out, elongating it. Do that on both sides. And again, just like I mentioned last week with the episode, if your back is too tight and stretches that you can do, and then really also with the one before that, talking about tight hips, if you are doing any of these right before you work out, just make it a fluid motion. Don't hold it. You don't want to hold a muscle because that relaxes a muscle. And if you are getting ready to work out, you're not wanting to relax it. Anyway, stretch out those hip flexors after you have been sitting a while. And this is something that if you're, back when the world opens up, if you're at an airport or if you're at a gas station or something like that in the middle of nowhere, these are things that you can do without looking too ridiculous. I mean, we might look a little funny, but that's okay. Who cares, right? Who cares? Okay. The last thing I want to do is have you stand up, take your your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, and then just shift them from side to side. That is going to stretch your gluteus medius, which is the smaller glute muscles on the side. So I like to call it, this is not the technical term, by the way, but I like to call it the gush. So it's kind of like that space in between your iliac crest, the top of your hip bone, and then where your femur inserts into your hip. So it's like that. It's kind of that in-between space. That's where your gluteus medius is, otherwise known as the gush, coined by Amy. But anyway, if you will take that side to side, then that is going to stretch that. Now, the reason I have you doing the side to side as well as the hip flexor stretch is that way your hips are going to be moving in all different directions. So just like we've talked about the last couple weeks with that connective tissue, we want to keep it moving in all different directions. How quickly will you see results on this? Well, it's just like anything else. The more consistent you do it, the more you're going to feel results. You may not feel something immediately after one time. If you do, that's great, but I wouldn't expect that. But if this is something that you can incorporate, like say when you get up to go use the restroom or to refill your water bottle or something like that, just take 90 seconds and do each of these for 30 seconds or so. And I bet you're going to start to feel a little bit looser. I will also have a link to that episode over on our Graced Health community Facebook group. So I would love for you to join us. If you have not joined us over there, head over. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better, connect more over at the Graced Health community Facebook group. Link is in the show notes. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.